So Family Guy uses malicious humor in many of the episodes, and one character that suffers its effects is Meg Griffin. We're introduced to Meg as the unpopular, uncool, ugly, boring kid at school and the scapegoat of the family. Everybody pokes fun at her at any instance that they can. She is the target of collective bullying. Bullying doesn't have to necessarily be physical, it can be verbal or even relational, where you tend to spread rumors or exclude people from social situations, social events. But Meg seems to suffer all kinds of bullying. We constantly see Meg as the butt of the joke, even when the joke is just not that funny. Meg is not just a character in a cartoon. Meg is also a real person in real life. Like, she's that target who just keeps getting victimized without anyone to defend her. So why does the audience collectively laugh and find it funny when Meg is constantly pushed down, berated, harmed, and or bullied? And what does it say about the audience? Family Guy labels Meg as the butt of the joke since season 1. The label is just there, and when a person is given a label already, people wouldn't really see it any other way. Unless we are not afraid to question the status quo, even at the expense of social approval, even if standing up for the right thing meant we will be excluded. Something happens if you question the status quo. You may as well just lose your social capital or your friends. You're in a friend group and the whole group has already established a great target to victimize. If you disagree and you question their behavior, you're just not fun anymore. But also, you will be the next target or you will be ostracized. So you just go along with it just to protect your own self and protect your own place in the friend group where you would feel belonged and accepted. If the larger or more accepted group accepts Meg as the butt of the joke and a great target, and as represent her as accept her as a great target for bullying, then be it so. That's the rationale of a conformist. You may already have heard of Ash's conformist experiment. So Ash took a couple of participants and divided into a couple of groups. Each group had one real participant and 6 to 7 actors in on the experiment. They were shown a card with one line and another card with 3 lines. The task was simply to say which of the 3 lines matched the first line in length. It was pretty easy, and the actors were instructed to give the wrong answer on certain trials. The real participant always answered after hearing the others. Almost 75% of the time they gave an answer they knew was wrong just to go along with the group, so that they won't be embarrassed. So people laugh just to feel included, to not feel embarrassed. So you're laughing at Meg, even if you think the joke is not funny or bullying her is not right, just to be included. The concept of moral disengagement originated from Albert Bandura in his social cognitive theory. People who bully others, or even bystanders, tend to be morally disengaged, which means they tend to justify immoral actions and convince themselves that somehow their behavior is proper and appropriate or acceptable to avoid it. You do that to avoid guilt and distress. In this case, bullying and witnessing the bullying of Meg without standing against it, it allows them to ignore their conscience or even their own moral standards without any guilt, while you are continuing to harm Meg by doing that. Morally disengaged people do this by blaming the victim, diffusing responsibility on someone else, or by minimizing the effects of your behavior. So we as bystanders invent reasons as to why Meg should be bullied or deserve to be hurt. In Meg's case, moral disengagement may look like this. It's no big deal. It's not that deep. It's not that serious. Everybody laughs at this. Nobody speaks up for Meg anyway. I just laugh. I'm not committing a crime here. I didn't create the show. The creators did. This is just a cartoon. I won't laugh at an actual person getting bullied. I am informed of what bullying is and its consequences, and that is what matters. This isn't even bullying because it's just a cartoon. Meg is not cool. She's an unworthy person, so she deserves this bullying. Meg deserves it anyway because she's not pretty or cool like other people or even popular. You're laughing at Meg getting bullied or you find it funny, you have a higher potential to be a bully. And you may have certain personality traits that are said to be associated with bullying behavior, like sadism, where you gain pleasure by seeing another person getting hurt, which is also related to psychopathy, by the way. We all know narcissism. A grandiose perception of yourself, a constant need for admiration, feeling of entitlement, and of course lack of empathy towards others. Anything and everything that you do has a purpose, and that is to promote yourself and be seen as the smarter, the prettier, or the best one, to make yourself feel and look better in the eyes of others. And Machiavellianism. So this is the manipulative, long-term, exploitative strategist who plans exploiting people just to gain some advantage out of it, mostly gaining status and power. You may be more of a cynic. You don't believe in genuine human connection because you believe that people are bad inherently and they're exploitative anyway, so you might as well exploit them. Anything and everything that you do is related to how much you will get something in return. One is my favorite. Projection is one of the psychological defense mechanisms people use to ward off overwhelming anxiety. Projection is when you eject your own feelings, your own experiences, your thoughts and beliefs onto someone else and claim it is not yours but theirs. So imagine you feel insecure, inferior, unaccepted, and then you see someone and you claim they are the insecure, inferior, unaccepted ones. Bullies are often very insecure and very powerless and helpless themselves. I used to know a personal trainer, someone who claimed to be motivational and super confident in themselves, and also a bully. If you looked at him from the outside, it would be like he's perfectly confident, someone who believes they're very successful, although he's not, have everything under control. And this person loved to control other people and threatened to abandon them if the person they're dealing with says something slightly problematic, slightly wrong, for them. Turned out later he was a narcissist, heavily narcissistic. Every time someone commented on a fault they had or a mistake that they made, a genuine flaw that they have, it would be like a wildfire. So that's how you know that they're not really confident and secure in themselves, and they actually don't really have a strong personality. The outside is just a mask that they use to protect their fragile self-image. So most bullies need a sense of control because within themselves it's a hollowed out, creepy void that I imagine is like lava everywhere, but the person is just trying to deny that there is any lava, so they do this through numerous defense mechanisms they have created. One of those mechanisms they use to cope with all of this anxiety, it's, aroused by their feelings of insecurity and inferiority, is bullying, or anything they can do to feel like they're in control and powerful, or they have power over someone or something. Maybe they have an effed up childhood or a history of rejection and not being accepted. Bullying, or by being a bystander, laughing while witnessing this bullying, is you're trying to project your feelings of inferiority and weakness onto the victim or the person who's being bullied. It's like deep within, you believe that you're inferior, you're not accepted, you're not enough, and you don't feel powerful. You feel weak and fragile, and instead of addressing those heavy but difficult beliefs and emotions, you project those feelings onto this target. And you think to yourself, well, this person is weak and this person is inferior, this person is powerless. Who are you kidding? That is projection. Some people assume that bullying is also influenced by a person's inability to tolerate frustration. So frustration is an emotion we experience, but we don't get to experience what we want. In a study conducted in France, I think, the researchers found that children identified as bullies are more likely to report a lower level of frustration tolerance, especially when it came to a sense of entitlement or like being unable to tolerate people against their wishes, not being able to bear it when they can't achieve their goals. So the next time someone tries to bully you, you could say, ugh, you may have like really bad, horrible frustration issues. So when you really think about it, a bully or a bystander is not powerful. They're a victim of their own illusion of power, which is weak AF. Meg is not just a cartoon character. Meg represents many people in real life. She represents every scapegoat in the family, although a bit exaggerated in the cartoon. She represents that person everybody wants to gang up on, just to displace their anger, their guilt, shame, embarrassment, just because they are not strong enough to deal with them. She represents the punching bag, the emotional sponge that emotionally unintelligent and emotionally illiterate people use to survive their twisted minds. Leave your comments down below if you'll ever see this video. I'd love to hear from you wherever you are from in the world, and I will see you in my next video.